Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we are going to be discussing the new ICBMs that North Korea has unveiled at their recent military parade, which occurred a couple of days ago to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the founding of the party of the dictatorship there, the Korean Workers' Party. Was a midnight parade that lasted a little over 2 hours. It featured obviously, troops, standard conventional equipment, as well as some MiG-29s and some strategic missiles. And these ones are now speculated to be the largest liquid-fueled ICBMs in the world. And we're going to take a look at a video here. It's a short 2-minute video from Sky News detailing a bit of the event, which featured the dictator Kim Jong-un. He gave a speech and talked about how he doesn't intend these for preemptive use, which, if you trust Kim, you're a sucker. Let's just be real about that. But we're going to take a look at the video here. So, W.R. Winter says, hot gang. Yeah, hot gang, gang. Let's go.
Under the cover of darkness, a midnight display of massive military muscle. And leading the Pyongyang parade, a huge new weapon, which analysts say could be the world's largest intercontinental ballistic missile. Crowds mobilised to mark and celebrate the moment. And presiding over it all, Kim Jong-un, high up and looking down, defying coronavirus, which he says hasn't hit North Korea.
Let me take this opportunity to console the people all over the world who battle the disease caused by a malicious virus. I sincerely hope people can keep their health, happiness and smiles. Above all, I feel very grateful for all our people being healthy and sound.
Taking his place unmasked, flanked by followers, even embracing children, he claims his country is COVID-free. But few outside believe him. And earlier in the day, at events commemorating the 75th anniversary of the Workers' Party, state-run TV showed several people wearing face coverings. These events aren't uncommon, but remain an extraordinary sight. Goose-stepping in time, drilled to perfect precision. Even the tears seem highly rehearsed. But behind the spectacle, the message. The most totalitarian of states, in control and command of its power and people. Armed and isolated from the world, but united within. Laura Bundock, Sky News.
Yeah, so, of course, that's Sky News, their commentary there. Some of it's a bit cheesy. I mean, there's not really that much of an analysis in terms of, the reality of the situation there. But I do, in a moment, I'm going to take a look as well at one clip specifically focused on the new missiles themselves. We've seen them parade missiles in the past, ICBMs. We've seen them test stuff like the Hwasong 15, which, they're the sort of things that they do have a range to reach most of the United States. But the new ones that they've got are, they're substantially larger and they're newer. And yeah, they are liquid fueled, so they do require vehicles to carry the fuel to drive around with them, but they are rolled mobile. That's one of the things that you'll see about all of these. And it was that fact in and of itself that served to nuke pill my friend Reese, Spooky Nukies, because that's his new channel name over on YouTube, formerly known as Nightmare Fuel, because he realized he's like, all of their armaments, all the strategic arms that they have are completely rolled mobile. They're on the move. They're not stuck away in fixed silos that we can target and know the positioning of their silo bases, like how the United States has, many wings of Minuteman, 3 silos in, I think it's Montana, and Utah and several other states that are out there. No, these ones are not fixed. They're road mobile. They can move around. They can set up. They can get ready, fuel and get ready to launch. And this is a country that's very hard to get intel on. And yeah, we have satellites and everything else, but they can camouflage these things and move them around. They can also hide them out in underground facilities. North Korea has, as far as we know, the largest underground road and rail network in the world. They're a regime that exists to cover their tracks, to conceal their movements and their armaments. And these are just another step in the process of developing a modern and sophisticated strategic missile force. And of course, it's all road mobile. They're all modeled on the Russian tells and the Chinese tells. So we're going to have a clip coming up very shortly, but I do want to take a look at the chat before we get into that on the ICBMs themselves, because they're really large and they have the range to basically be able to hit any American city or base. And that raises a question, well, what about accuracy and whatnot? It's hard to gauge accuracy because, one, these things haven't been tested, but when they've done previous tests, they can prove the range by doing it out on a lofted trajectory, such that if they were to do it at an optimum trajectory, you would, draw an arc out and find that, okay, so they can reach the claimed range. The trouble is the accuracy, because they're not saying, we're aiming for these coordinates, and then they launch it and you see what's going to happen. That's not what they do. That would undermine their propaganda. But, they have Russian scientists helping them. They have an indigenous nuclear and rocket program. They're the type of regime that will figure it out in time. Remember that in the 1950s, American and Soviet missiles were also pretty inaccurate. They also had lots of errors. They had cases in which they would blow up on the launch pad, or they would test them and then they would detonate like 30 seconds on. They had a lot of errors and they had to work out the kinks. And so it's easy to make fun of North Korea, because oftentimes when they'll do these tests, it'll fail. The rocket will explode shortly after launch. But you have to remember that happened in the United States too. The United States famously, of course, televised it when it happened. In the case of the space race stuff, a lot of the military stuff was, that was classified. But I mean, you literally had stuff like the, I think it was the Red Rock, or what was the name of it exactly? Oh, the Redstone missile that they were going to try to beat the Soviets to get a satellite into orbit with. It blew up on the launch pad and it was televised, and it was absolutely embarrassing to the United States. And it's like, this is the United States. This is the most advanced country in human history. They had the same problems. So it's easy to be here in like 2020 and laugh at the North Koreans and say, haha, look, their tech sucks. Yeah, but the West's tech was there before. The Soviets' tech was there before. They're going through the growing pains. The inevitable result is that they're going to be caught up at some point if we let them catch up, which I think is entirely unacceptable. But here's another clip here. This one's from Reuters, looking specifically at the new ICBMs that they paraded. So let's take a look.
North Korea showcased previously unseen intercontinental ballistic missiles at an unprecedented pre-dawn military parade on Saturday. Analysts said the missile would be one of the largest road-mobile intercontinental ballistic missiles in the world if it becomes operational. The deputy director of the Open Nuclear Network called the missile a monster. The country's leader, Kim Jong-un, made an appearance in the state's TV broadcast as the clock struck midnight, marking the 75th anniversary of the founding of its ruling Workers' Party. South Korean officials said this week that Kim could use the event as a low-intensity show of power ahead of the US presidential election on November 3rd, as denuclearization talks with Washington have stalled. A senior US administration official on Saturday called North Korea's display, quote, disappointing, and called on the government to negotiate to achieve a complete denuclearization.
Yeah, no, they ain't denuclearizing. I've said it before. You could give Kim in good faith, you could actually give him $100 trillion, like real money, and he'd have to turn it down if you offered him that money to give up his nukes, because he knows, well, what's the point in being a dead dude with $100 trillion? He knows that if he gave up the nukes, it would make him vulnerable to United States intervention. So he won't do it. He won't do it. He'll just keep his $15 billion that he has right now. It's rich enough for him. He has his swag yacht. He's got 17 swag palaces scattered around the country. He's got his own private jet. He's got everything he needs. It's $600 million of liquor a year, endangered species sushi, all that kind of stuff, right? He's not giving up those nukes. Anybody who thinks that there's a peaceful solution in which North Korea gives up the nukes is out of their freaking mind. And that right there immediately discredits them from being able to be part of the conversation, because we're adults here and we're trying to put forth actual possible solutions to denuclearize Korea. Saying, oh, let's just sit down and play patty cakes with him and sing kumbaya and like maybe like, you know, trust him for the 28th time. Maybe then the regime will like give up their nukes and stuff. Unbelievably stupid, delusional. And we're running out of time with these guys. So we saw there the new ICBMs that they were rolling out. Those things can hit any American city. I want to make something very clear here before we continue. I mentioned this on Twitter earlier tonight. Make no mistake, those ICBMs do not exist so that they can nuke South Korea. They do not exist so that they can target and threaten putting nukes on Japan. That's not why those things exist. You want to know why they have those? They have those so that they can nuke you, sitting wherever you are in North America or Europe. Those are not going to be used to hit the South or Japan. They're going to be used to nuke your city in North America or Europe if you're watching this. So nobody spends that kind of money and years of research to get ICBMs like that and then use them on a country that you could use a Scud to hit. No, those things exist so that they can nuke New York and Washington and Chicago and Los Angeles and Vancouver and London and Paris, right? That's what those things exist for. They have other shorter range missiles to deal with Japan and the South. They're gearing up to turn your hometown into a crater, right? So all these idiots out there in the brainlet brigades that think that, oh, maybe we should just trust Kim, or, oh, it's too late to do anything or whatnot. Yeah, well, what happens when your city gets nuked and then you have to say, oh, yeah, Kevin was right. We said that Kevin was insane because he wanted to take out North Korea, and we said it was spooky, but now our town just got nuked, so I guess we were wrong. I guess he was right. It's like that's basically what you have to deal with here. Unbelievably stupid, by the way, that we still have people in the world that think that Kim, that regime is somebody that we can trust. That somehow it makes sense to just let them become a status quo nuclear power. And our solution, our big boy solution, our grown-up solution is just hope that they don't nuke us. That's unbelievably stupid. And I also pointed this out on Twitter earlier. I said, well, you know, to all the naysayers and the pigeons out there and those who would call me insane for suggesting that we take out the regime, let me ask you something. Well, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and you guys are right? And you guys say, well, you know, they're not going to attack us. They're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And they feel scared, bro. So they need the nukes so that they can feel comfortable. Let's say you're right. Let's say you're right. And I'm wrong. And we go in there and take them out and liberate those countries, liberate Iran, liberate North Korea, neutralize them, destroy their capacity to wage war, destroy their nuclear programs, and render the countries democratic, pro-Western states. What happens? Well, you've got a big war. It turned out that there didn't necessarily have to be a war because it turns out in this case, they weren't planning to actually attack us. But the world is still 100% a better place. The world is still more free. The world is rid of that fear of what if they attack us. Now, let's say you're wrong and I'm right, and it turns out they are gearing up to attack us. Now, I'm not saying they'll do it tomorrow, but at some point when their program is finalized and they have, 1,500, 1,800, 2,000 nuclear weapons, the bulk of which would be medium to high yield hydrogen bombs, and they decide to attack, even if you have a 40 to 50% success rate with your ground-based interception, you're still going to take 1,000 nukes. Yeah, let's say that I was right and you're wrong. Well, now everyone you know and love is either dead or dying of radiation sickness. Your house is an inferno. Your town doesn't exist anymore. And, and you're just thinking there, shit, we should have listened to Kevin. Except you might not be thinking that, because if you're close enough to the fireball, depending on how close you are, you'll be converted into smoke and vapor before your brain can process the light in the first place to even have the thought to think that you were wrong. So that leads me into the next part of this, which is that I often get the impression when talking with the brainlets and the losers and the pigeons out there, when I mention how something should be done about the North Korean regime, I often get the impression that they know nothing of the effects of nuclear weapons. They understand that it's a big boom, but they don't really understand what a nuke is. Two, they think that Kim Jong-un, he's just a meme. He likes Katy Perry. He's just a funny guy. He's a weird, wacko guy, but he's not a big deal. And three, that their nuclear program is just a joke, that it's for the memes, basically. No, it's very real. They've actually done tests. That's another thing. You'll hear this when analysts will talk about, well, are the nukes that we're seeing right now, or the missiles that we're seeing right now, are those actual deployable operational systems, or are those just canisters that they painted to look like missiles? They've said this many times before about different missiles in North Korea's arsenal. Said it about the Hwasong-15, for example. They said about, I think it was like the KN-08, these kinds of things. And then what does the North do? Some point on, when there's a point of tension and they want to prove a point, they launch one of these things. They test it and verify its workability, its reliability, that it actually will get off the ground. It gets off the ground. It achieves the stated range, even if they have to loft it vertically to avoid crossing Japanese airspace, right? And then you're like, oh, crap. That turned out to be a real missile. That wasn't just painted aluminum that they put on there to look cool. That was actually a real thing. Likewise with these, we can say, oh, maybe they're mock-ups. Maybe those weren't real missiles. They have the real missiles, even if they were mock-ups. And, they had the real stuff somewhere else because they didn't want it to be vulnerable in a parade in case of an attack, that sort of thing. They're going to test one of these things one day, and then it's going to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that these are working operational ICBMs that can put a nuclear warhead on any American city within half an hour. So we should probably assume that they're real. I would think it would be absolutely moronic to assume that they're fake, even if they are fake, because the other stuff is real. It's a pattern. They parade these things. The analysts speculate, maybe it's a mock-up. They test it sometime on. It turns out, oh, that wasn't a mock-up. Or at least, even if it were a mock-up, they had the real thing ready to go. So we should finally just, when the Kim regime, when they say they desire a massive nuclear arsenal and that they're aiming to get the missiles to be able to destroy Washington, D.C., we should just assume that that's what they're actually trying to do, and that's what they plan on doing. That would be a smart move. Just assume the scenario there that they're indicating to you. Likewise with Iran. Iran says all the time they want to get nukes so that they can wipe off Israel off the map. We should just assume that they want to get nukes so that they can wipe Israel off the map. Why not just believe them? Why not just believe them? Because what happens if you're wrong and it turns out they were telling the truth, and now Israel's wiped off the map. Well, now you've got a huge problem on your hands. So, with regards to North Korea, you might be asking now, well, they've got the missiles, they've got other missiles, they paraded them, those are a real thing, but what could they put on the missiles? Well, that's a good question. So they claim to have tested a hydrogen bomb on the 3rd of September 2017. That's debatable. The actual yield of that was between 70 and 280 kilotons. The nuclear tests that they did prior ranged from under a kiloton to about 25 kilotons, a little more powerful than the device that the United States vaporized most of Nagasaki with. So it would be one thing if everything in their armaments were, the Nagasaki-sized warhead. I mean, that would be dangerous, but it's unlikely that they would use a massive missile like this carrying a single Fat Man-styled, crude, primitive sort of warhead. That's probably not what they're going to do. But we know that they've tested a weapon that was about 3 times as powerful at a minimum and about 11 times more powerful at a maximum. So again, if we want to be smart, we should just assume the worst case scenario here. Let's say that they actually have 250 to 300 kiloton warheads all ready to go. That's we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at the effects of that on Alex Wellerstein's nuke map, on what that would actually do in a few different American cities to illustrate for you how big of a threat this actually is. And I want any of the viewers here to kind of be done with the meme of like, oh, he likes Katy Perry or whatever. It's like, I don't care. Are you going to be saying that as your city goes up in smoke? Oh, but he likes Katy Perry. Maybe he's still our friend, bro. Yeah, Net 7 series says, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's exactly it. And by the way, the best in this is that they have a 70 kiloton warhead available. The worst is 280. Now, that was a few years ago. It's possible they've already got a hydrogen bomb that's actually testable right now. Is it miniaturized? Who knows? But they might test one at some point in the future. Kim mentioned an October surprise, That's one of the big memes there. So take a look at the chat and then we'll get into the next video. WR Winter says, why were American mother of all bombs not invited to the parade? Yeah, because we got pigeons for leaders. Let's see. Arthur says, are we too late to take out Kim for dinner on Minecraft? Yeah, no, a lot of people say, why not just assassinate Kim? Why would you actually have to do a full invasion on North Korea? If you assassinate Kim or try to assassinate him, there are 2 possibilities that result from that, both of which are really bad. Either you fail to assassinate him and then he fires the nukes because he realized, oh, they're serious, they're coming for me. Or you succeed in assassinating him, his sister takes over, or one of the various generals around him, and then they fire the nukes. So assassinating him won't actually make much of a difference. Now, his sister is far more fanatical than he is. She's like a true believing communist and everything. She's insane. She heads up the propaganda division. I've said it before, if she ever takes power, if Kim Jong-un, when he dies, if she takes over, a lot of people are going to be murdered, right, in the purges. So we have a video right here. This is from one of their, tenuous allies, Communist China. This is what a hydrogen bomb will do. So now this one's obviously, the yield of this one is about 10 times what North Korea's tested. But like I said, they could actually have one of these available right now. They just haven't tested it yet. I want you to understand that the North Koreans can actually, we should assume that they're basically able to put one of these on an American city, or at least they're very close to being able to do so. So this is about a minute-long video. It's of the first Chinese hydrogen bomb test, and I believe this is, what was it, 1967? So here we go.
月17日，共和国的第一颗氢弹在西部地区上空爆炸成。
Yeah, it's obviously a very poor quality video, but that's their footage. Now, of course, the camera's made in China, so the quality sucks. Well, it's also the 1960s, so it sucks. But and of course, the audio sucks. They just replay the same sound of the plane taking off over and over again. And then, of course, the classic, they always make the bomb, the sound of the boom as soon as the bomb detonates, which is pure cringe because that's sound takes time to travel. If a nuke goes off and you hear it right away, you're already dead. I mean, that's that's their video there. And I'm sure the North Koreans, when they test one of these things, they're going to have equally goofy footage and equally poor quality footage, except they'll probably test it underground like they usually do. But you know, they'll have their cheesy propaganda and everything else of like, oh, you know, the seventh nuclear test of the great party sings the praises of the great leader, and this is like a great victory for Kim Jong-un thought and all this kind of stuff, right? But I mean, communist China was a poor agrarian backwater at the time, and they set off one of those. They were able to build H-bombs. North Korea is going to get H-bombs at some point. That's another point that I wanted to make here is like, yeah, right now they can put a 280, 300 kiloton warhead on this thing. They're going to get H-bombs soon enough. So then, oh, they can put a 10 megaton warhead on it. They can put a 15 megaton warhead on. The thing is that the missiles are so big, they don't even need to miniaturize that much, right? They don't even need to be that efficient. It's not like they need to get anything like 6 kilotons per kilogram or anything like that. They can have a very inefficient system, very inefficient setup, and still do a hell of a lot of damage with these. So I don't understand the idea of just waiting for them to get hydrogen bombs. That never made sense to me. I never understood the idea that we should not do a small nuclear war right now and wait for a huge nuclear war in the future. That always seems incredibly dumb to me. It's like with World War II. Imagine if you did World War II and attacked Hitler in 36. A couple million people might die. Instead, you wait for 1939 and 50 million people die. Well, what was the point of that? Oh, but it was peace, bro. It's like, yeah, that's not real peace. There can be no peace as long as this regime exists. Let's just understand that. So Arthur says, so basically Un's going to make us miss him when he's gone. Yeah, pretty much. W.R. Winter says, what are the chances of a second term Trump getting tough on North Korea? Very minimal. Wyatt's here over on Facebook. He says, one thing I don't like about Biden is he and the Democrats are okay with an arms reduction. Yeah, I don't like that either. It sucks. I wish we had better choices. I wish that it was a Democratic hawk versus a Republican hawk, you know? The only place that Trump is hawkish on, kind of, is Iran. On North Korea, he's been just dismal. He fell in love with the communist despot over there. It's embarrassing. He talks about writing beautiful love letters to Chairman Kim. Now we should, pray for Chairman Kim and how, don't underestimate Chairman Kim. He's going to be fine and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, why are you in love with this dude? That's pathetic. Why are you simping for Kim? But I want to go now to Alex Wellerstein's nuke map to take a look at the proven, detonation that they've done. I want to go and take a look at the effects of it because they have the range now to hit American cities. I kind of want to make this point because a lot of people don't really seem to understand that it's not just a meme. It's not goofy. People can talk about, oh, look, their airplanes suck or their Navy sucks. It's like, yeah, their missiles will work and they have nukes. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. So this is what would happen if you were to put the warhead that they tested back in 2017 on one of these and detonated over New York. This is what it would look like here. So you'll see this is, now I don't have all of the effects included. I can go under advanced options and put some more of the radius in. I think usually the 50% probability of first degree burns is a good one. 50% probability for third degree. I think the fallout is usually useful to include. And yeah, so we'll take a look here. So that's basically the set of circles that's around. So you can see it basically encompasses most of Manhattan, and we can zoom over the various circles. So the actual radiation radius is irrelevant because it's within the fireball. The fireball itself is about a little over a kilometer in diameter. The 5 pounds per square inch is, that one's almost 5 kilometers out. That's complete and total destruction. The third degree burn radius is about 7 kilometers. The 50% probability for third degree burns extends out, and this is assuming they basically detonated it over like Midtown. The third degree 50% probability is right to the southern end of Manhattan, and then first degree probability goes out to about 13 kilometers, and then light blast damage is essentially the same. And so I believe there is an option on here where they would calculate the estimated death toll as well. So this is assuming that they detonated it 2,000 meters above ground to maximize overpressure. By the way, this is a good site if you ever just are curious about like effects and stuff. We've had over 200 million people use this. So let's see. Oh, yeah, you can include casualties. So, yeah, if you include casualties on there. So, yeah, the North was able to actually, they wouldn't launch one. They'd launch dozens of these at the United States. But say one of these detonated over Midtown Manhattan area, the total estimated fatalities from this would be a little over 1.1 million people and about 2 million injuries as a result of this. So we'll go back and take a look at the chat. Yeah, Net7 says, if you're in the third degree burn range and not in cover, you're dead. It's only a matter of time till the radiation kills you. Why did we let it get this far with North Korea? Well, I talk about that all the time. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel. I've been interested in North Korea since before they actually had nukes. Like, I was a kid, but I was fascinated by North Korea. I was like, how the hell does this place exist? Like, it's crazy. Now, I've been interested in North Korea since like 2005, 2006. So this is the sort of thing that most people weren't even talking about until the interview came out. And when the interview came out, North Korea actually threatened to nuke the United States if they showed it in theaters. And you know what the response of the U.S. government, of what the I believe it was Sony that produced it. You know what the response of the filmmakers was? Oh, we should listen to the party. We should listen to North Korea and not show it in theaters. So they didn't show it in theaters. So we've already been getting blackmailed by these guys because they got nukes. Well, now they're just increasing their capabilities. So again, what I showed you there, we're talking about 2 million injuries and over 1 million dead. This is a small nuclear weapon. This is what they have right now. That's a potentially slightly boosted fission device. That's assuming they don't even have H-bombs. Let's say, for example, now they do figure out H-bombs and they get the equivalent to what America's first H-bomb was, which was 10 million tons of TNT. So I showed you 280,000 tons of TNT. So the next one, we'll do an Ivy Mike style detonation. Now take a look at how big this is going to be. And we can roughly estimate it just off of here because the blast of it doubles every time you increase it by about a factor of 10. We're talking about increasing it by 40. So we should expect that the radius of this is going to be about 4 times bigger than what it is here. And we can test it. We can test it to see if my math is roughly right there, because the radius of the fireball here is 0.58 kilometers. If that's right, it should be right around 2 to 2.5 kilometers. So let's take a look. Yeah, 2.43 kilometers. So roughly the blast is twice as powerful every time the yield goes up by 10. So the yield went up by 40 here. Now that's what it looks like, assuming that North Korea gets like a crude H-bomb in the range of what the first one that the United States tested, which was the Ivy Mike blast. Now you can see it's not just like most of Manhattan. It's just the entire area around New York is just completely devastated. We're talking about on the maximum extent of the first degree burn radius. We're talking about an area of over 10,000 square kilometers that's just completely ablaze, completely devastated. That's what would happen. That's with one nuke, by the way. These guys have a lot, like these guys are working on getting a lot of nukes and they have a lot of missiles. So obviously this would be repeated throughout the United States, Canada, probably the European allies as well. And nobody really talks about it. It's just kind of like a big meme. It's like, oh, well, Kim, he's a joke. He likes Katy Perry. You guys see the interview? It's a joke, dude. Nobody takes this seriously. Hardly anybody takes this seriously. And the people who do, they fall into two camps. The first camp is basically most of the analysts that they understand what's going on and they don't really make any prescriptions about it because they understand that if you were to do anything, it would require a nuclear war. The second group of people are people like me, where you say to me, you're like, but Kevin, if you wanted to stop them, that would require nuking them. I'm like, yes. Your point? Like, what? We're going to wait for them to nuke us? How does that make smart? How does that sound smart? So we'll take a look at the effects here. Again, this is something that, as far as we know, they don't have yet, or at least they haven't tested this yet. But that was the first yield of an American hydrogen bomb, was 10 megatons. So you can see the difference there between an atomic bomb and a hydrogen bomb, a thermonuclear bomb. So fireball radius, 2.43 kilometers. Think about this, just the circumference, or rather just the area of the fireball, transposed onto the ground is 18.5 kilometers, right? So the 5 pounds per square inch radius covers basically almost all of the New York area. Is completely because that's at 5 psi overpressure, most residential buildings collapse. Injuries are universal, fatalities are widespread. The chances of a fire starting in commercial and residential damage are high, and buildings so damaged are at high risk of spreading fire. Often used as a benchmark for moderate damage in cities. Optimal height of burst to maximize the effect is 6.7 kilometers. And in this case, it's with 6.7 kilometers. So then the 50% probability of third degree burns extends out 35 kilometers. And probability of 50% probability of first degree burns is 57 kilometers. We can also include in there how far away you would actually have to be for it to have no chance of injuring you. I think that one's a good radius too. That one is the minimum radius for 100% probability of no burn. So you'd have to be standing 72 kilometers from the city in order to actually be safe from it. That's in terms of the heat effects. The fallout is different. I thought I did click the fallout option, but it didn't include it on here. And then it estimates the total fatalities is at basically 4.5 million, and the total injuries then at about 5 million. So about 9.5 million people would be injured or dead as a result of this if they detonated it over New York. And I want to point out something else here. Because, what's often in question with the North Korean stuff is, well, how accurate are they? They're probably not that accurate, but they're probably accurate enough to roughly get it right. So, let's say we move this thing. Let's say that they overshot the target by, say, What's that? That's probably about 10 kilometers or whatever. You'll notice when we do the detonation there, it probably doesn't even change that much. It lowers the death count slightly to about 2.3 million, but the injuries now are still about 5 million. So they went from assuming that they hit their target, roughly accurately, injuring and killing about 9.5 million. Let's say that they missed it by, a wide margin. Now you're still talking about 7 million. That's why they're so, they're in a hurry to get H-bombs, because they know that their technology is probably not the greatest and they might miss. That's one of the reasons why the Soviets rushed to get high-yield weapons so fast, because they knew that their tech sucked and they'd probably miss. So they wanted to make sure that even if they missed, they'd still be able to, hit their target, or at least take out the target. It's the sort of thing that's 10 megatons right there. You can see just how massive that is. But say you did that over San Francisco, for example. If they set it off over San Francisco, and San Francisco is a lot closer to North Korea, they can hit San Francisco with other missiles. But this one's, of course, the lightest one. You'll see it. It destroys the entire city. It's a radius of devastation that just includes the entirety of the area, right? So, and again, that's with one bomb. These guys, they're not going to launch one. They'll wait until they've got dozens, hundreds, that sort of thing. I don't understand the idea that we're just going to be okay with this, that we're just going to trust them not to use it, that we're going to trust Kim and then Kim's sister and then their kids and so on. It's at some point, I don't understand that. I don't understand this logic that we should just wait for them to do it on their terms. So, W.R. Winter says, let's get Senator Elizabeth Warren to work on this ASAP. Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, she had a bill. Reese did a video on this one. She had a bill which is basically, she wanted to make it illegal for the United States to use nukes first. And she wanted to make it so that you can only use nukes after they nuke you. And I'm that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard of. Then how are you going to deter your enemies? That makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah, Sock on Rain here says, oh crap, I'm late to the stream. It's good to have you here. Mexicanator says, my only concern with nuking North Korea is what if we don't completely destroy their arsenal and they send one back? See, that I agree with Mexicanator. Mexicanator has the right attitude here, because when the brainlet brigades will call me insane, when people like Nutso Liz will call me insane, or when other people in the hot community that are fine people and understand that, sometimes you have to actually go to work and get rid of bad actors in the world. Even when those people will tell me, they're like, well, we should try to avoid going nuclear on them, because you could do it with conventional means. You could take out their nuclear arsenal with conventional means. I always make the point, I'm like, yeah, but you can't guarantee that nothing's going to get off the ground. Now, technically with nukes, you can't either, but it's a lot easier to do it with a nuclear first strike than it is relying on conventional weapons and make sure that you're accurate with everything. It's the sort of thing that you really need to use overwhelming force. So there's no guarantee that they're not going to be able to get one or two off the ground. It's a lot better to make sure that almost all their stuff is gone and whatever gets through, it gets through, than wait for them to get hundreds or thousands of H-bombs. And then they can start the war on their terms whenever they want. And then it's too late. It's too late. So my answer is always, it's not that nobody would die, that no Westerners would die if you took out North Korea right now. It's very possible that they would hit Japanese cities, for example. It's just that waiting for them to get hundreds or thousands of H-bombs is unacceptable. It's a non-starter. It's a non-starter. We should have dealt with them a long time ago. This is just the reality of what happens when you get people like Obama. And yeah, I'm going to say Bush too. Bush didn't do anything about North Korea. Now, in fairness with Bush, at least he did stuff with the Taliban and Saddam, but Bill Clinton trusted the Kims. It's a joke. It's a joke. And I'm critical of Trump. I think that Trump has been embarrassing when it comes to Kim and falling in love with Kim. But in fairness to Trump, unless you're nuke pilled, it was already too late when he came into power. Like, if Trump wasn't willing to use nukes against North Korea, it was too late for him to do anything about North Korea when he came into power. That was basically right up to Bush. Early term of Obama, you could probably do it. They have too much now. They have too much now. And of course, it's hard to get information on them. Some sources say they got 50 nukes. Others are closer to 200. The ICBMs, it's hard to work out and everything, but they have them and they could go. They're road mobile. This is a regime that's totally paranoid too. They're constantly, doing tests and drills and all this kind of stuff. And they've got 9 million people in their military. Basically, it's the sort of thing that's what they live for. So again, I don't understand this idea that we're just supposed to like sit back, watch them get H-bombs, and hope that they don't use them. Reese makes another point, which is like, yeah, it's insane to it's insane to just assume that they won't, or to get get this attitude of, everything will be fine. It probably won't be. It's ridiculous. I also don't like this idea that, like, even if Kim Jong-un doesn't use them preemptively, we're just supposed to wait and be scared and worried, and then his sister comes to power and be scared and worried and whatnot. I don't understand the idea that we're just supposed to accept them as a status quo nuclear power and just go about our days for the rest of our lives, and our kids go about their days and everything, knowing that North Korea can turn our civilization into ash whenever they feel like it. The North Korean system is insane. They make communist China look capitalist. They make fascist Russia look liberal. They are completely on another level. It's something that Stalin never could have dreamed of. They're the worst totalitarian dictatorship in the history of the world in terms of the effect on their population. And we're going to let them get hydrogen bombs and blackmail us with them. I don't get it. People say, oh, what about South Korea? If you nuked North Korea, they'd attack South Korea. Yeah, South Korea was doomed a long time ago. South Korea was doomed before these guys even got nukes. They were going to destroy Seoul if a war broke out. Seoul, there's no saving Seoul. It's about saving us at this point. Let's just be real about that. We talk about humanitarian intervention and all that kind of stuff, and how we want to try to liberate people and everything. Yeah, but in North Korea, understand that they have orders to shoot prisoners the second that the Americans come across the border. There's no liberating North Korea, and there's no, when Seoul get damaged? Yeah, Seoul was going to get damaged at any point over the last 70, 80 years or whatever. Seoul is, like, if you're in Seoul and war with North Korea breaks out, like, it's over. North Korea is a country that they're building up, like, in the most rational case that you could make for North Korea and say they don't want to nuke the United States. The most rational case that you can make for them is that they're building up these nukes so that they can blackmail the United States to stay out of the region so that they can go in and invade South Korea on their own. So no matter what happens, Seoul is getting destroyed. No matter what happens, the South is going to sustain a huge amount of damage. And like I said, these missiles that I showed you earlier, they do not exist to nuke Japan. They do not exist to nuke South Korea. They exist to nuke us in Canada and the United States and Europe. You don't waste the money building a missile with a 10,000 plus kilometer range to nuke your neighbors. That's not what happens. That exists to nuke New York. That exists to nuke DC. That exists to nuke Los Angeles. That's why they have them. So Sockon Brain says they won't nuke the US, they will nuke Japan. No, that if they nuke Japan, the United States is going to retaliate. So they know that. So they would nuke the United States as well. Sockon Brain says Japan is the most vulnerable. Yeah, Japan is very vulnerable. WR Winter says, I think proximity to China is a bigger concern. Communist China is an enemy too. They've been helping the regime, no doubt, right? Would Communist China get involved though? If you did go in there? Maybe. Probably not. But who knows? Because it's not the 1950s anymore. They're also very annoyed with Kim. They haven't been on the best terms with Kim. But they also don't want U.S. troops on their border. So they might get involved if you took out North Korea. But they would also lose that. Keep in mind, China only has about 300 nuclear weapons. They would not win a war with the United States. So Mexicanator says, fair point. I would rather that happen, honestly. I believe he was referring to one or two get off the ground instead of waiting for them to get thousands and then start the war on their terms. SP Broadcraft says, wouldn't they nuke us back if we nuke them? What would they have left to nuke back with? The idea is you'd completely destroy their ability to retaliate. That's why you do a first strike. You have the element of surprise. You don't tell them that you're going to nuke them. You make them feel cozy and stuff, and then you surface the subs out the water, get the nukes out the tubes, and they're done. So you take out their leadership, you take out their strategic sites, you take out the location that you're most confident of their tells being at, and you hope that you got all of them. You can never be sure, but you can be more sure here than waiting for them to start the war on their terms once they're ready to go in maybe a decade or 2 decades. John Connor says they probably don't have that many nukes yet. Well, you know they got about at least 50. So Stockholm Brain says we need to station nukes in Japan. Oh yeah, for sure. In Australia, absolutely. Let's see. Net7 says Seoul's a huge metropolis. It can't be destroyed with conventional weapons because most North Korean artillery can't hit the city. Yeah, they have about 40,000 artillery pieces aimed over the demilitarized zone at South Korea. But yeah, they can't hit like all of Seoul. They can hit some parts of Seoul with those. Net7 says Japan might stay neutral as long as North Korea doesn't attack them. But they would let us use our bases there. See, that's the thing, is like the Kim regime knows that the U.S. would use bases in Japan. That's why they would probably hit U.S. bases in Japan if a war broke out. And again, they don't need these rare and expensive ICBMs to hit those. They use their Scuds. They use their smaller range, shorter range missiles to hit those. SP Broadcraft says, at Superpower Broadcasting, what's your opinion of Styx Hexenhammer? So, okay, maybe this is surprising to people. I've never seen like a video of his. I know he's a YouTuber. I know I've seen him around on Twitter, but I really don't know very much about him, his belief system. I've just seen like some cringy takes from him before. I think about Russia a long time ago. But I really have no idea who he is. So if you can give me a brief, 1 or 2 comment overview of what he believes, particularly, let's say, foreign policy, then I can offer you my opinion based on that. But W.R. Winter says if we nuke North Korea, China wouldn't get involved in that conflict, but most likely would lead to at least some brinksmanship. Oh, yeah, they would whine and cry in the corner and bitch about how it was unfair and sovereignty and stuff. They wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't do it. They know they would lose a nuclear war with the United States. They know that. They're gearing up for a war with the United States. They understand that war with the West is inevitable. There's never going to be peace with China. China wants the world, but they're not ready yet, and they know it. They need several more decades at a minimum before they would be ready to actually do a war with the United States. They wouldn't get involved. I don't think they would get involved. They would only get involved if they thought that the United States was going to cross the Yalu and invade their territory. Then they would get involved. But I don't think they would get involved. So Net7 says never seen one of his vids either. SB Rodcraft says he's quite the isolationist. I heard, yeah, the takes I've seen from him were like pro-Russia and stuff. So he doesn't sound like a very smart person. Sock on Brain says China would do to North Korea what the Soviets did to Eastern Europe. Yeah, he's a right-wing isolationist. Yeah. So yeah, basically, I don't understand this idea at all that we're just gonna sit around and wait. We're just gonna sit around and wait. I mean, the missile that I showed you earlier, the 280 kilotons. That's a small nuke. They already have those, and look at how much damage it can do. And it doesn't take that much for them to get up to the H-bombs. So, Suck on Brain says Styx is a libertarian. Okay. Yeah, no, libertarians are a joke. Libertarians are ridiculous. Libertarians are the type of people who they think that if we stick our heads in the sand and pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist and like get rid of our militaries and stuff and get rid of taxes and everything, that our enemies will just forget that we exist. It's the dumbest worldview I've ever heard. They don't understand that there are regimes out there that are the most anti-libertarian, like North Korea, that would destroy our way of life. They don't get that. They don't understand that. They think that like taxes in the United States are the worst evil that's ever happened in the history of the world. So, but so they've got 280 kilotons that they can deliver right now. But they've got leadership compounds. I believe they've got a leadership compound south of, they've got one to the northeast of Pyongyang, right over around that fortress. Yeah, that's the Pyeongchang residence right there. So they got one right there. I think we can put this to satellite. I'm not sure. Yeah, satellite. Yeah, that's the one right there. So if you look at his compound here, he does have a compound. I've looked at this stuff earlier on Google Earth, and it's like you look at this the surrounding area, and of course we're using Nuke Map here by Alex Wellerstein, but it draws on data from like Google Earth and everything. So this is what the typical sort of North Korean village looks like over here on the outskirts of the capital. I'm not sure if this is within the official range of the capital or whatnot, but you look at it and it's just absolute poverty. None of those houses probably have electricity, let alone heat, that kind of thing. We have an industrial area over here, but then we got, oh, look at that. How cute is that? We got a surface to air missile battery. So they're defending something. Oh, we got a train station here. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. And then you're like, oh, what's all this? Oh, wow. Those are actually well-kept lawns and stuff. And then you're like, what is that, a pool over here? Okay, so that's one of Kim's mansions. That's one of the 17 official mansions that he has. And that's the Ryongseong residence. They also have the Central Luxury Palace, which is further south of the capital. But, it's the sort of thing that, that's one of the targets that you would want to hit, is one of those leadership compounds, right? So you, of course, also hit their strategic forces. Now, with North Korea, it would be a total war on their end, but their technology is such that, you wouldn't really need to do a counter value approach. You wouldn't really need to hit their cities because their tech is so poor that even if they produce war equipment, it won't really make that much of an issue. You want to hit their bases, their airfields. You'd want to hit their obviously wherever that their mobile systems are at, and you want to hit the leadership compounds. And it's very hard to know where Kim is, and Kim could also be underground. So that one's pretty tough to actually take out Kim. But we got Cool Pooter here, Cool Pewter. That's School Computer. That's Ian Stevens right there, except it's probably not Ian Stevens. It's probably a guy having fun. Says, libertarians should go live in North Korea if they're so goddamn apologetic. Yeah, the Libertarian Party of the United States ran an ad, and I saw it, and it was basically, North Korea has legal weed. In fact, I'll see if I can find it right now. It was embarrassing. It was just a complete and total disgrace. They were trying to argue that that the United States is basically, they're more authoritarian and this kind of stuff. Just really pathetic. Yeah, I can't find it, but like Reese has seen the ad too. It was for the Libertarian Party, being like, did you know that like North Korea has legal weed and we don't? What's up with that? Embarrassing. So yeah, they should go and live over there. Suckin' Brain says, the only thing I agree with libertarians on are gun rights and free speech. That's about it. I'm pretty sympathetic on taxes. I really want to lower taxes across the board. I agree with them on gun rights and definitely on free speech. but like their foreign policy is just ridiculous. So W.R. Winter says, impression of Sticks is he's a thoughtful moderate who can't tell the difference between the USA and Russia. Oh, so he's a moron. John Connor says, would either Trump or Biden have the balls to take out North Korea? Neither. That's the problem. That's part of the reason why I'm so pissed here. That's why I do what I do, is so that we can awaken a new generation of young hawks and go and get somebody, you know, young, vibrant hawks out there, so that we can go and get somebody that's actually going to stand up for our national interests, promote and defend our civilization, and destroy the enemies of freedom and the axis of darkness. So Arthur Izar asked, how many nukes would it take to take out North Korea? That one's tough. It really depends on the amount of information that we have. If you knew where like Kim was, and you knew where their higher ups were, and you knew exactly where their road mobile systems were, and you knew what was on the ground at every airfield at any moment and all that, you could probably do it with under 100 nukes. But you're probably looking at more than that in order to actually guarantee that nothing of theirs gets off the ground in terms of nukes, right? And of course, the longer we wait, the more it'll take. So if we wait another 10 years, you won't be able to neutralize them with 100 nukes. You might have to fire off like 700 or 800 nukes in order to guarantee that they aren't able to retaliate. So Suck on Brain says the excess weed is probably what makes the North Korean citizens so complacent. You can't criticize foreign policy because they don't have one. Oh, yeah, but libertarians, yeah, well, their foreign policy is basically just bow down to Russia, bow down to North Korea, bow down to China. W.R. Winter says, walk us through how a hypothetical President Jorgensen would take out the Kim dynasty. Lol. I haven't really looked that much into Jorgensen. Is she hawkish? I'm not sure she's hawkish. I know she's like libertarian or whatever. No, I want John Bolton to be president. I want John Bolton, Dick Cheney, 2024. Let's make that happen. John Bolton, Nikki Haley, Dick Cheney, George Bush, those kinds of people. Let's get them in office. Well, I guess you can't do George Bush because he's already been president twice, but Dick Cheney for sure. Oh, and that's one of the things about this map is that despite North Korea denying them, Google Earth and other, this one here is Mapbox. They'll actually list where the concentration camps are. So it's hard to see, but like you'll notice, like this one here is a concentration camp. You also have like the Horyong one. You've got Yodok. You've got like Camp 14. You've got, I mean, this whole country is an archipelago of gulags and in concentration camps. We should remember that, of course. You've got like the Hwasong concentration camp up there. They do a lot of mining and stuff. There's the Horyong one, but I believe that they closed that after a rebellion occurred, and they just basically murdered everybody there. That one was about the size of Washington, D.C. There was an uprising, so they just killed everybody that survived, basically. This is a regime. I want you to understand, like, if you asked me and said to me, would you rather live your life like the average 68 years or whatever of a North Korean in North Korea, or would you rather die in a nuclear war so that the regime can be neutralized? I would rather die in a nuclear war than live in North Korea. Like, some things are more important than just life, right? So like when people say, oh, it's like, yeah, but people would die if you nuke them. It's like, yeah, but life is already hell there. At least nuking them would deal with that. So, and it would stop them from spreading their tyranny to other parts of the world and being able to blackmail us. So that's Yodok right there. Like, you really, unless you know what you're looking for, you're not really going to be able to make sense of this. And actually, the quality on this image here is really poor. I've seen better images of the Yodok concentration camp. You don't have pictures on the ground. You don't have pictures on the ground. We literally have libertarians and Green Party people and isolationists here who deny the existence. They say, oh, well, you have no pictures. You're just going off of reports from defectors and stuff. It's embarrassing how much people that I've lived around and went to school with will carry water for this regime, the worst regime in the history of the world. And you can say, oh, Hitler killed more people. Yeah, but it was a lot better to be a German under Hitler than it is to be North Korean under Kim and the Kim dynasty. In terms of the per capita effect of this regime, Hitler, Stalin, Saddam, they never could have dreamed of what this regime has achieved in terms of its closed totalitarianism. This is the ultimate in totalitarianism. This regime needs to be wiped off the face of the earth by any nuclear means necessary. And at least I'm out here saying it, because you can go and follow 1,000 people. You can go and follow 100,000 people on Twitter that would say to you, oh, you can't talk about nukes. That's insane, bro. But if you want to talk to somebody, if you want to see somebody who's actually able to have a mature conversation about this and doesn't care if people call me insane or warmonger or whatever, that's why you're subscribed to this channel, because we actually talk about things that other people are too squeamish to talk about. So, because I got news. Just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to put a hydrogen bomb on your town. So it might make you uncomfortable and be like, oh, well, nukes are scary and spooky and stuff. Yeah, that's not going to stop your place from going up in smoke if they detonate one of these things over your downtown area. So, a Suck on Brain says, was there anyone more hawkish than Winston Churchill? Curtis LeMay was pretty hawkish. Douglas MacArthur was pretty hawkish. I wish we had a leader like Curtis LeMay right now. Curtis LeMay, I've watched Cold War analysis and stuff, and a lot of people will trash talk LeMay, call him a warmonger, all this kind of stuff. LeMay was one of the few people that if he was in charge and he was president, he actually would have wiped the Soviet Union off the map. We wouldn't have been like, oh, is the world going to die in 1983, or the Soviets going to start a war or whatever. The Soviets wouldn't have existed past when he was president. It would have been as simple as that. The world would have been a United States sphere of influence. You know, it would have been American hegemony forever if he had been president. Like, and maybe I'm wrong, but just based on his rhetoric, based on the quotes, based on his style, if you took him from Strategic Air Command and made him the president, he almost certainly would have nuked the Soviet Union. So, Net7 says, I wonder if Joe Jorgensen would come on the show if asked. Oh, I highly doubt it. But that being said, I haven't really reached out to people just outside of like my friends group on Twitter and stuff. I'd obviously need to look into our foreign policy and stuff. But Net7 says drug smuggling is big in North Korea. Cocaine is big with officers, according to one defector. Yeah, they make a big percentage of their revenue off of smuggling drugs, right? So they're just on the whole, they're a rogue state. They're just a thorn in the side of everybody, even communist China. John Connor asks, how good is U.S. military intel on North Korea, do you think? Well, you know, if I had to take a stab at it, I'd say it's the worst of any country out there. There's no way. Like, what? They have spies inside North Korea? There's no spies inside North Korea. What, you're going to get, like, North Koreans to collaborate with the U.S.? Maybe. But they're probably going to be found out and executed and their family sent to a gulag. What, you're going to send an American over there and just be like, hello, fellow kids. I am North Korean. Don't mind my American accent. I sing praise of the dear leaders. And they're going to be like, who the hell is this guy? I mean, there was that story about how the CIA sent some dudes into Cuba to like do rap and stuff that was anti-Castro. And the people there were like, wait, who the hell are these guys? They don't really sound like they're from here. And they got busted. And you're like, no, look, I like the CIA. I make memes for the CIA. Well, they don't pay me, but like, I like them. I support what they do. Look, dude, I love the NSA. I love the CIA. I love the American government. I love NATO. I wish the CIA was better. I wish the CIA was way more lethal. The reality of the matter is, if you had to bet on it, you'd probably say the CIA has no idea what's going on. That's just the unfortunate reality. Like, if they can't take out Castro after hundreds of assassination attempts, if the best that they can do is send in some like socially awkward guys to try to be rappers that get detected very easily, that's their attempt to undermine the communist system in Cuba. No, the CIA doesn't know what's going on. That's why you're going to have to do a lot more weapons than you probably would have, because you don't have perfect information on North Korea. It's freaking North Korea. It's the hermit kingdom. We know next to nothing about them, right? I mean, we have the satellites and everything, but again, Most of their stuff is in underground facilities. And when they get the orders to launch, like they don't just sit these road mobile systems just out in the open waiting to be struck by American air power. They keep them in their bases underground, and then when they get the order to launch, they leave their hangars, come outside, and launch. So you really have to hit their bunkers. You have to hit them hidden away throughout the country. And bunker busters can work. Nuclear bunker busters are going to be a lot more effective at that. Yeah, it's going to create fallout and everything. But again, what's going to be a worse situation? Some fallout from a limited nuclear war with North Korea that sees you win, or waiting for them to have a bunch of hydrogen bombs to nuke us with, and then the fallout's right here. So let's see. Arthur Izar says, let's take a page out of Russia's playbook and radicalize North Korea's citizens so they can try to destroy it from the inside. Yeah, you can't do it. Can't do it. There's no way that there will ever be a revolution inside North Korea ever. There was graffiti that was anti-Kim Jong-il that was found on a bridge at one point back in the 90s. And you know what they did? They rounded up about 10,000 people from the local village, and they went through all their handwriting and everything, and they were determined to find these guys. And they executed a few people as a result of it, and that was that. And, you know, that was just some graffiti that was anti-Kim Jong-il. And they upended an entire town and everybody, and questioned them, nonstop for hours and everything, because they knew, they're like, we have to stamp out anything, we have to nip it in the bud. Now that was not going to go anywhere. That was just some kid, right? But there was a plot in the 90s from within the high command, within some of the generals, where I watched an interview with one of the defectors that was a part of the plot, where they were going to do a coup against Kim Jong-il. Because they wanted power and that kind of stuff, and of course it was found out. You have to understand that in North Korea they keep all three branches in the dark. They're not allowed to communicate with each other. The only person who can basically communicate with all three branches is the supreme leader. So it's like that to minimize the chances of a coup. They keep the country divided off into so many different provinces and stuff that if you're born in one, you're going to live your whole life there, because you're never going to get a travel permit to go anywhere else. Why would you need to? Your job is to be a farmer in this particular town, or somewhere else. Like, nobody's taking a road trip across North Korea. Everybody lives where they were born, basically, right? That's how the system works. That can hurt them economically, but that's designed so that you reduce the chances of a coup, of an insurrection. Anyway, with the generals, it was found out. They were busted. Of course, it's North Korea. Of course, the secret police are going to find out. Of course, there's an informant. Everybody's a collaborator. Everybody's an informant in North Korea. And this one guy was like, "Oh shit, I should probably get out of here." And like, he didn't know that they were found out, but he had a suspicion that they probably got found out, and he defected. He, left. He was lucky to get out. The others weren't so lucky. The other generals and high command people, they were taken to, and I'll bring it up on the map here. It's a bit further south from here. They were taken to this, which is the largest stadium in the world. It's the Ringrado Mayday Stadium. It holds 150,000 people. They were taken to the center that you're seeing there, like to the actual court. They were tied up to stakes, and they were set ablaze with kerosene before Kim Jong-il, as he watched, some of his generals basically go up in smoke. And so that's what they do to you there. If there's the suspicion that you're going to be doing a coup, you will be set ablaze. They will burn you. So this idea that somehow there's going to be a revolution there's no internet. What? How are you going to do a revolution? You're going to text your buddies to show up? You can't do that. You can't do that. Nobody... apart from the elites, nobody has cell phones, and the elites aren't going to be doing a revolution. The only people that have access to technology like that, to cell phones, to laptops, that kind of stuff, mind you, even they don't have internet access. They have the Red Star intranet. They're not going to be the ones overthrowing the system, because they know that 90% of the country is far worse off than they are. In fact, this entire capital area here of Pyongyang, you are not allowed to live there. You are not allowed to enter there. You are not allowed to visit there, unless you are permitted to. unless you are in about the top 10% of the Songbun class system that they have there. And about 90% of the people are deemed either wavering or hostile class. They're never allowed in the capital. So the people that live in the capital that have the technology, they are the privileged lucky ones. They're not going to be rising up against that system. They're the only ones that could conceivably have the tech to make it happen in the first place. They're not going to bite the hand that feeds. Now, they're also under great terror. They have a higher rate of being purged and murdered than the average person does. They're the elites. They have the most eyes on them. And oftentimes it's the families of the elites that will be sent to the concentration camps out in the countryside, like Yodok, Hwasong, Horyong, all these other camps that are out there. They have dozens of these camps where they get sent to for 3 generations, essentially like, what's that, like 100 years or whatever, right? Because your kids are born there and their kids are born there, because it went back to Kim Il-sung with the idea that you have to, when you imprison somebody, you have to do it for 3 generations to wipe out the criminal blood, as he termed it. That was back in the 50s. He had that doctrine of 3 generations of punishment. And of course, it's collective punishment. So if somebody's accused of doing something, their entire family goes to the camps. So this is a system. There will never, ever be a revolution that's independent with inside North Korea. It will never happen. It will never happen. If we're just waiting for a rebellion to happen, we're going to get nuked with hydrogen bombs before they rise up against their leader. It's as simple as that. So we have to take it upon ourselves to wipe this regime off the face of the earth by any means necessary. There is no other option unless you want to see San Francisco, New York, Chicago go up in smoke. So because that's what they're going to be capable of doing. They can already do it. It's just they don't have that powerful of bombs yet. And I'm done. I'm so done with people saying, oh, look, their tanks are old school. Their Navy's old school. Their planes suck. I don't care. It's their nuclear arsenal that matters, and that's deadly effective. So let's see. Nicholas says, I love the CIA too. W.R. Winter says, Dennis Rodman will be our James Bond. I wish. No, he's our tanky Tulsi Gabbard. He's Tulsi Gabbard, just black. That's him. Like, if Tulsi Gabbard was black and played basketball, that's her. That's Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman is a total disgrace. He says this dish is a piece of crap. So Nicholas says, I wish the CIA actually did have the power to do all that stuff. Conspiracies accuse it of doing. Oh, I wish so too. That'd be awesome. Like, imagine if the CIA was as powerful as like Ron Paul and Rand Paul claim it was. That would be awesome. So Second Brain says, Arthur, that won't work. That was in reference to trying to radicalize them from within. Yeah, there's no way. It's impossible. Nicholas says, the 1% of North Korea live like the average American, except the Kims, of course. Kind of, except they don't have internet access. They don't have internet access, and their lives are very scripted. They live under the constant fear of being purged, and they're in constant terror. So, it's just like in the Soviet Union. The more elite you are, the higher chance of dying you are in the system, because everybody wants to take your place. How the informant system works over there is that if you inform on your neighbor and you denounce them as an enemy of the state, you get their apartment, you get their food rations. So there's every incentive possible to inform to the secret police that your neighbor is a spy or something. Like, there's no way there's ever going to be a revolution in this country. Anybody who says that is absolutely out of their mind, and they've proven to you immediately they have no idea what North Korea is. Maybe they know what the capital is. Maybe they know that, like, Wonsan is a city. They don't know anything about what North Korea is actually like. They have no idea. They have no idea, and we're supposed to take advice from them to not nuke the regime. Oh, because nuke's scary. It's like, yeah, you know what's more scary than a nuke going off over North Korea? A nuke going off over your town. So how about that? How about that? Like, I'm so sick of the isolationists too, because you would think that if anybody was going to make those kinds of isolationists, it would be like the America First type people, the libertarian type people or whatever, that tend to be more about, we only care about our own security, to hell with the rest of the world, that kind of thing. You would at least think that the idea of nukes going off over their cities might spook them. But apparently not. Apparently they think that Kim Jong-un, he's a swell guy. He likes Katy Perry, bro. It's embarrassing, dude. SP Broadcraft says, Reese's new avatar and branding was inspired by his childhood comic hero, the Red Skull. I don't know the Red Skull, actually. I know his new branding is really nuke pilled, but Stockholm Brain says they have a little thing called Kwangmyong, a countrywide closed off internet. Yeah, that's their like satellite system. The actual internet system, the intranet system, I should say, it's really rinky dink. So, for example, they have a social network there. Guess what their social network's called? It's called Friend. Like, you know how like we have Facebook and Twitter? They have Friend. Like all the apps that they're allowed to access are like Book or Friend. And and I've looked at their internet before. Like if you take a look at their internet, it's wacky. It's like, you know, one of the headlines on one of their pages was like reverence of all the people's voice praise, and it's like the Kims and stuff, and you're like, oh, that's embarrassing. Like this is, we have libertarians and we have isolationists and we have paleo conservatives and we have Green Party type people and we have progressives in the West here that will carry water to the end of the earth for this regime and do everything in their power to try to call me insane for suggesting that we actually nip them in the bud and take them out. And you know, and I think it's a total joke. So we're going to take a look at North Korean internet, see if I can still find that site that listed off what it looked like. It's probably an old article. Yeah, Rodong. It's just their internet basically looks like what ours did in like 1992. And of course, they can't communicate with the outside world. I just find the idea of like, you know, Friend, that's your social network. And they have like access to like the biographies of the dear leaders and like Kim Il Sung's mom and wife and stuff. And like it's a joke, the whole system. I know people say all the time, like, really, you're worried that a country that doesn't have like running water or heating is going to nuke Washington? It's like, yeah, they don't have that stuff because they put all their energy into the nukes. That's not an argument. You can't say, oh, they're not really a real nuclear threat because they don't have like consumer goods. That's irrelevant. The whole country exists so that the dear leader can have his swag and so that they can get nukes that have the range of being able to hit American cities so that they can deter an American response, blackmail America so that they can invade the South. And you might say to me, well, Kevin, what if they just blackmail America and invade the South and win that, but like not actually nuke the United States? Wouldn't that be fine? No, because then NATO doesn't mean anything. Like if that actually happens and they cuck America and show the world that American defense means nothing, well, then Russia takes over Europe. The rest of Europe is just going to beg Russia, like, what can we do to not be invaded by you? Because we understand that the American defense is worth nothing anymore. America would not be a superpower after that happened. That's another reason why you have to take these guys out before they do that, because it would be a complete and total embarrassment on the world stage. One of the good parts of, or one of the positive effects of doing a strike against North Korea is it would show to people like Iran, to Putin, to Xi Jinping that you're dead serious, that you're not just tough talk. You're actually willing to completely wipe a country off the map, basically. That would get them in line, and you wouldn't see Putin going and invading Europe anymore. If he thought that the U.S. would actually use nuclear weapons, he would back off very quickly. Because right now they all think that the United States nukes, they're just a joke. They'll never use them, that kind of thing. Suck on Brain notes, they have a streaming service called Man Bang. Yeah, Man Bang. That's correct. They actually do. Yeah, their website domain is neonara.com.kp. That's right. It's been a few years since I checked out their internet, but you're right. I mean, there's not much to see there. It's goofy. We can take a look at it, neonara.com.kp. So let's go. Oh yeah, we're actually on their site. Okay, this is their. Yeah, you know what? Let's take a look at North Korean internet. We'll take a look at North Korean internet. We're gonna stream share over to the intranet, basically of the enemy. Let's go and take a look at what they're up to. So this is it right here. It's on screen. You got politics, economy, trade, society, culture, history, folklore, we are one, tourism. So, revolutionary activity news. The 75th birthday celebration of the founding of the Workers' Party of Korea and an artistic performance called The Great Direction held 2020, October 12th. Large group of people celebrating the 75th anniversary of the creation of the Joseon Workers' Party and an artistic performance, The Great Hanggo, took place on October 11th at the stadium on May 1st in Pyongyang. So that's the Ringrado Stadium that I was showing you guys earlier. Let's take a look at that. Oh, you got the dear leader there. You got everybody wearing masks in that picture, but nobody was wearing masks at the ceremonies that they were doing earlier. Just look at how they write stuff too. Like Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un is always in bold. They call him like best ill comrade. The whole thing is basically like, I understand why people think the country's a meme, but they also like the nukes are real. So, oh, we got Jay here. He says, "Good morning, Hawks." Oh, you guys didn't free the north of Cyprus last night? Yeah, Jay sent me some pictures of some riots and stuff that happened over there. Yeah, no, the north needs to be liberated. In both cases, northern Cyprus, northern Korea. By the way, the bad guys always have the north. Ever notice that? Like North Vietnam. So, yeah, a large group of people. Yeah, it says Chairman Workers' Party of Korea, Yosemio, DPR State Committee, Yosemio, the DPRK, Armed Forces Commander-in-Chief, who we as a country, by the way, their translation in English sucks. I know they have a bunch of languages available. Their English is just, again, this is how you know, like, it's entirely like a hermit kingdom. They're the highest paid sort of English translators that they have suck at English translation, because the whole country is just 100% Korean, basically. So, who we as a country, the armed party, best ill comrade, Kim Jong-un, watched the performance. Welcome to the Song of Sounds that reverence best ill a comrade Hee Chukpo with cheers attend the party. Hooray! As the storm climbed the bleachers, just to comment explode. See, this is, by the way, if you're in the position to translate this stuff, you're already like one of the most elite people in the country. You have to do years of English, all that kind of stuff. This is the quality of their education system right there. They're just not up to par. It says full cast in the audience are my Mayolsa service for the people to spread the noble cause of copyist. Well, I mean, they do try to copy like all the American and Russian military equipment. Let's see, Seiwu Sigo, visibility, economy of the people first policy in the country, political Tatangwo, reverence to top ill. He looked up to comrade Kim Jong-un, again in bold, and raised his enthusiastic cheers. Dear Supreme Leader Comrade, with infinite fidelity to the party, sent a warm greeting. Oh, well, this actually sounds like English now. Sent a warm greeting to his beloved people, who shined as a revolutionary moment when the 75th anniversary of the party was founded as a great political celebration, and once again showed the absolute party of one-hearted unity to all nations. Yeah, single-hearted or one-hearted. That's a common buzz phrase that they have. Dear to top ill, cute kids, to comrades, they whirl bouquet. What? What? That reminds me, there's a guy on Twitter who will just keep asking, like, hey, Kevin, you seen the movie Cuties? That's what this reminds me of. What? Oh man. Oh man. What a meme. Okay. Members of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the WPK, Comrade Choi Ryong-hae, Comrade Lee Byul-chul, Comrade Kim Dok-hoon, Comrade Park Bong-joo, and other party and government military officials, and congratulatory representatives of the 75th anniversary of the founding of the party, participants of the fellowship ceremony, observers, Pyongyang citizens watch large groups and artistic performances. It's also very like matter of fact. It's just like things were seen, stuff was said, dear leader, that kind of stuff. That's basically the entirety of publication that's come out of this country for 70 years. Song, Our Flag is an African group, was pulling into the rings, being hoisted Songyam Hebrews, scattered light per our mark there over the great is the expulsion of incense was engraved. See, like, again, this is the top, this is the highest caliber English translation they can get in the entire country, and it sucks. Oh man. But this here, that's not a typo. Well, it is typos, but this isn't just like an anomaly. When I was checking out this their internet like 4 years ago, it looked like this. The spelling and stuff was as bad as this. They haven't improved. It's been 4 years. It's the same drab, clunky, embarrassing, sycophantic, just reverence of all the people's voice praise kind of talk. You know, this is what communism looks like, folks. We're going to have a regime that does this for 70 years. We're going to let them have the ability to put hydrogen bombs on our cities. Really? That's what we're going to do? We're just going to trust this regime with the most powerful weapons in the existence of the universe? Really? I don't get that. I don't get it at all. So it says, at the end of the performance, I respect the highest leader, the cheers of hooray, who looked up at Comrade Kim Jong-un and touched the sky again, felt real. And sometimes the articles will be written in first person too. And you're like, who is I? Because there's no author listed here. There's never an author listed here. Who's I? It's just the writer. Maybe that's something, like how they did in Libya's, Gaddafi's Libya, where nobody could have like a first or last name or anything like that, like on their shirts or in any sort of credit, everything. The only person who was allowed to ever have their name be spoken was like the leader Gaddafi, right? So if you were watching a soccer match, even if there was like a famous soccer player there, he would just be known as like number 6 on his jersey because Gaddafi can be the only celebrity in the country, right? So maybe that's just this. I'm not 100% sure about that. It's just oftentimes they'll be clunky and then they use the first person. You're like, who's I? I respect the highest leader. Like that's their article. That's their news. There's no author listed. It says massive, yeah, and then it repeats itself a lot. That's just one article, and I'll prove to you guys that that's not just an anomaly, that everything on this site looks like that. Let's just go back in time. Let's go back and we'll be on like page 5 or whatever. Like, yeah, let's check out under economy. Completion of Pyongyang fragrance factory. Let's take a look at this. Like they'll announce like new factories and inspections and stuff. The Pyongyang fragrance factory was newly constructed and completed. Okay, very matter of fact. At least it's good English so far. In the factory where all the processes from natural flavor extraction, flavor blending, injection, and packaging form an integrated production system, fragrance research and production are integrated to produce a variety of natural flavors, edible flavors, and industrial flavors with unique flavors and fragrances. So yeah, it's repetitive, but at least that's actual proper English. On October 8th, Dongji Park Myung-soon, head of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, Dongji Lee-jul, Deputy Prime Minister of the Cabinet, Comrade Seong-hak Ri, the Light Industry Prize, and other members of the related sector looked around the modern Pyongyang fragrance factory. By the way, that's another thing. You'll notice that in like all their publications and everything, whenever they're announcing stuff, they always announce who was there, who was present to witness stuff, and they looked around. And you know, it's funny, they said looked around. Usually they say like inspected or with great guidance, that kind of thing. But here they're just like, they looked around. That's kind of funny. They're usually more formal about it. Just looked around. That's kind of funny. I guess that's changed in the last 4 years. But Arthur says this is what patriotic education looks like. Oh man. WR Winter says, wow, this celebration of the party's founding sounds awesome. Kind of like our 4th of July, right? Haha, very cool. That Kremlin Kyle Kulinski, probably. Oh, yeah, for sure. So that one countered what I was making the point of, but we've got line phone, we got video stamp. Wait, what's line phone? Line phone. Oh, it's like gifts. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is kind of funny. Amazing. Are we seeing it? Yeah, we're seeing it on screen right here. The greatest glory to our great party. Okay, they screwed it up. Usually they'll capitalize party, often great. Somebody's probably going to the camps over that. Celebrating the 75th anniversary of the creation of the Joseon Workers' Party. We got new propaganda. The agricultural front is the main strike ahead of the frontal breakthrough. So we got words. We've got impassioned words. We got an exclamation mark. Got another propaganda one here. Youth. Let's show the wisdom and bravery of youth at the forefront of the frontal breakthrough. So I guess the frontal breakthrough is like their new propaganda line, and now they've got like some modern trains and stuff below, but then they've got like 1950s style aesthetics going on in the top. That's like 1950s era North Korean aesthetics. Let's develop the superiority of our country's socialist health system. You've got like a doctor, like a computer and a microphone. You've got like a modern skyline in the background, which doesn't really look like any city in North Korea. I mean, I guess maybe it's designed to look like the Myray Scientists complex in North Korea and in Pyongyang, but we've got more valuable science and technology achievements. And we got like smelting and refineries and stuff. And we got a guy pointing at a computer. We got a computer with like a 1980s keyboard going on, and like it's probably like a Logitech mouse. Science and technology are inexhaustible strategic assets for us to rely on. We got like some super futuristic stuff. And of course, we got an ICBM going off in the background. Or I guess, it's a satellite, bro. Let's support the party by increasing power. Again, this is a country that barely has any electricity whatsoever. Become a patriotic worker with a spirit of conservation. So we got like some cashiers. More diverse and quality consumer goods to the people. Oh, this is like the interview. It's like fake grapefruit, like fake pears, fake apples, fake bananas. Except like Tulsi Gabbard and Kremlin Kyle Kulinski, they think it's real still. They never got the memo that the stuff was fake. I like how you can like select the year. We can go back to Juche 97, 2008. Right now we're in Juche 109, 2020. And by the way, in their calendar system, it starts when Kim Il-sung was born in 1912. So we got, let's continue the march of Baekdu. So you got the army and stuff. Let's break through all the obstacles that hinder our progress with a head-to-head. So you got like a train, you got agriculture. You got guns. And then here's the last one. Everyone comes to the decision of the 5th plenary meeting of the 7th Party Central Committee. Oh, yeah, that sounds exciting, right? Who doesn't want to do that? Like, you can, like, because, we got the choice in the West. We can, like, watch Netflix. You can Netflix and chill, right? You can, like, kick back, watch some ASMR and stuff. Or you can be like Kyle and everyone comes to the decision of the 5th plenary meeting of the 7th Party Central Committee. Doesn't that sound like fun, friends? Like, hello, fellow kids. No, but we actually have people in our country, in our borders that live amongst us that look at this and think, yeah, that's their sovereignty, bro. It's embarrassing. Imagine simping for this regime. Let's go back to 2008. Let's see what their propaganda was like then. Got Welcome, the 11th Pyongyang International Film Festival. Independence, Peace, Friendship. Oh, so it's basically secular talk. That's basically, it's like a secular talk video. Film festival propaganda. Long live the glorious Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And you got like the 60th anniversary stuff going on back then. Celebration, the 12th Kim Jong-il Flower Festival. Yeah, lots of stuff about Kim Jong-il's flowers. The entire army is a total bomb of the Leaders Association. No, we have to send Kyle to North Korea. We have to send Kremlin Kyle to North Korea. Like, imagine simping for them. Like, dude, just go and live there then. Nally says they do a disservice to the Joseon dynasty by naming themselves after it. W.R. Winter says this is legitimately spooky stuff. Happy Halloween. Sakon Brain says, unrelated question. What are your thoughts on Destiny? We're talking about like the streamer Destiny? Like which Destiny? Yeah, the pride of Songun Joseon. Let's build a mighty great country with the leader's feet. You got like Kim Il-sung and flags and stuff. 16th celebration, the 2nd National Drawing Festival. More stuff about like drawing. We got, did your comrade rode the horseman of the leap? Yeah, so the English is dismal. I mean, y'all in the chat will recall when our friend Pro Thing was in the chat, and he would always say like you, and he was like, I'm better than, or I better than you. It's like his English was probably better than the top English translators that they have in North Korea. This year will be the year of transformation when the road will shine in the motherland. And you've got like the Pegasus in the background. I forget the name of the horse, but basically it's like a flying horse that symbolizes like speed and like shock work and stuff. Check out Juche 107. What do they have going on in Juche 107? This stuff is like, it's kind of crazy. It's a big rabbit hole, right? I mean, North Korea, it's a massive rabbit hole. The Shining Motherland. Let's leap forward with science and secure the future with education. They've got like that new science complex that they built over in like the island in the Taedong River. Long live the 70th anniversary of the founding of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Let's achieve a new victory on all fronts of building a socialist power with a total revolutionary offensive. And they've got an ICBM in the background that looks like one of the previous, like a Hwasong 15 kind of thing. All of them are going to compete the New Year's Apple business this year. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. All of them are going to compete the New Year's Apple business this year. What? Does anybody know what that means? What's that a reference to? Natalie says, I was hoping to send Kyle to Gaza. He simps for the Palestinians harder than anyone else. Oh, they don't really treat people like him. They don't really treat lesbian softball coaches very well in Gaza. So, okay, well, I think we've done enough of that. Let's take a look at tourism. Tourism in North Korea. How fun. It's also very slow, too. Incredibly slow. Like, I'm on the new computer. This stuff is slow. Let's see. Tourist destination. Pyongyang district. Okay, it looks like that's like decent spelling and stuff, but like, okay, politics. We're into politics here. Let's see what kind of politics they've got going on. Dear to top Kim Jong-un comrades. What? Okay. Dear Supreme Leader Comrade Kim. Oh, they didn't capitalize Jong. They only capitalized. Oh no, they screwed up. Somebody screwed up. They only capitalized 2/3 of his name. They capitalized it properly in some other cases, or bolden, I should say. Is the chairman of the WPK, chairman of the State Affairs Committee of the DPRK, and the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of the DPRK. So whenever like they're writing his name in like papers and stuff, they put all of his titles there. So his title's like 40 words long. Dear to top ill Kim Jong-un, comrades he, Kim Il-sung, was a graduate. You like the military university? So yeah, again, they'll only have like the most trusted, highest caliber English translators do the translations, and it's an F. It's like it's ridiculous. So, oh, he was elected vice chairman of the Central Military Committee of the party at the September 2010 plenary committee meeting of the Central Committee of the WPK in September of Juche 99, 2010. Yeah, he was elected. Dear Supreme Leader, Comrade Kim Jong-un was awarded the military title of the Korean People's Army in September of 2010. Oh, of course he was. He's the dear leader. Of course he's going to get awarded whatever military title. Guidance. Let's see, guidance. The DPRK is the great President Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il's attention to the instructions of the leadership as the only national construction activity. Shipbuilding. Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il's attention is going to build the country is moving forward with. Yeah, so it's clunky, it's drab, it's communism in written form. This is what communism reads like, right? This is your brain on communism. Imagine simping for this regime. Imagine being Kyle or Shuan Had. Just what a joke. What a joke. I think we're done taking a look at their website. I think we could all say this is probably one of the worst sites on the internet. I mean, wow. So anyway, what a mess. What a mess. We're just going to let them just build up the capacity to blackmail us. Our civilization is better. It's not even close. But they're going to have the ability to destroy ours. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. So I don't care. I don't care that people think it's spooky. I don't care that people think it's ghoulish. I don't care that that's insane, bro. I don't care. I don't care. If I'm in charge, the nukes are out the tubes. They're done. So as far as the answer Stockholm Rain's question about Destiny, I've never watched a stream of his. I've seen some clips of him, but I couldn't comment on it. I know that him and Vosh no longer have their bromance. I know that Vosh thinks he's a fasci now. I think that's kind of funny, but I don't know enough to comment. So, W.R. Winter says, Germany has won 3 Grand Prix from the Pyongyang International Film Festival, 2006, 2012, and 2014. Interesting. Cool Pooter says, again, that school computer, says, yeah, unfortunately, communists like Kremlin Kyle want to destroy us from within. That's why I call them a fifth column, because that's what fifth columns do. They destroy us from within. So, Arthur Izar says, hi, I'm Kim Jong-un. I enjoy communism and short walks on the beach because I'm fat. Yeah, that's his Tinder right there. Except he gets no matches because it's North Korea and he's the only one with actual internet access. Everybody else just gets that stupid Nara or friend. Okay, Cool Pewter says nukes are fucking based. If I were president, North Korea is gone on the first day. Okay, we see eye to eye. I feel you, bro. I've said this before. Like, what would you do if you were president? I'm like, on the first day, like, within the inauguration, within 20 minutes of the inauguration, it's mushroom clouds over North Korea and probably Iran. You know, there's no, we're going to meet and we're going to talk and we're going to work things out. It's like, no, by the end of the day, they're gone. Like, I mean, there's no, like, yeah, you're in there for 4 years, but it's like, it's only going to take about 30 minutes to deal with them. So, you know, then we have 4 years to deal with other stuff, or almost 4 years, like 3 years, 364 days, and 23 and a half hours to deal with other stuff after they're nuked. So Nicholas says, you'll know me when you see me. I'm the only fat person in the country. Yep. I mean, again, this is the kind of stuff that leads people to think that they're just a meme. That's all funny. You know, Kim, he likes Katy Perry. He's kind of crazy and stuff. No, I showed you guys the map. They're very close to getting hydrogen bombs. They're very close to having the ability to completely wipe out New York and everywhere within 70 kilometers of the city. I mean, think about it this way. America's first hydrogen bomb was a 10 megaton device. And as they developed and as it got more advanced, they actually were able to bring the yields down. North Korea's first hydrogen bomb probably going to be freaking huge, because it's not that difficult for them to make it. The difficulty is in the efficiency and that kind of stuff. But they don't really care. They just care that they'll have the ability. They don't care if it's crude or inefficient or anything. It doesn't take a very sophisticated one to do that kind of damage. It just needs to be miniaturized. America's first wasn't miniaturized, but Britain's first H-bomb was miniaturized. So, and Jay and I, we watched that video a couple times on this show over the last month. It's very artistic filming, where they fly basically right overhead as it's going off. Sucker Brain says, would you campaign on a platform of peace and isolationism, but then sucker punch North Korea after being inaugurated? Yeah, like people are like, oh, would you make a campaign promise to nuke North Korea? And I'm like, oh, for sure, within 20 minutes. But it's like, that's a meme. If I was actually going to be US president, I would say, oh, you know, we're going to have talks. We're going to have strong talks. We're going to go in and, you know, I'm willing to offer even taking US troops out South Korea if they're willing to like tone down the military displays and stuff and get them all comfortable. And then I become president, and within 20 minutes, every single one of his luxury palaces is dust particulate in the sky. So, you know, that's what I would do. And they wouldn't suspect it. Their radars and stuff would be on standard alert. They wouldn't be getting anything off the ground, I can tell you that. So, but then, you know, because it does raise the question, well, if you did have somebody like LeMay or a Bolton come into office, the North is going to know that they're going to come into office, and it risks preempting them to do a first strike. That's always a possibility, but they are still relatively weak right now. We should remember that they're relatively weak. They're building up. They're building up. They're hoping we don't do anything until they're ready. They're not really ready yet, but they will be one day. They will be ready one day. So Youre Winter says strong talks. And don't think it'll be 50 years down the road. It could be 10 years down the road. It could be 8 years down the road. It could be 14 years down the road. Who knows? But you'll still be alive for it. So, and you might not after they're done. Sucking Brain says, I wonder if the sucker punch strategy will ever be employed. Well, if we can get our kinds of people into power, yeah, absolutely it would be employed. It would absolutely be employed. Imagine if we had like the Hawk Gang in like the national security and the White House and 10 Downing Street and the military industrial complex, that kind of stuff. Imagine what would happen. It'd be game over. It would be game over for the enemies of freedom so fast. But we're just starting here. And I've made the point before. The most important thing that we can do right now, most important thing that I can do is be out here on YouTube trying to reach people so that we can change people's minds, because we're in a democracy and we need to win. We need to get people to realize that we want to be strong. We don't want to vote for weak leaders. We want strong leaders. So that's about all that I really have to say here. Oh yeah, Cool Pooter says, imagine a Kulinski-Sanders administration on the North Korea issue. Their policy would basically be sing praise of the great comrades. That would be that. And you'd see like their website, Nayanara, saying, you know, long live the comrade Kulinski and comrade Sanders, the great leaders, building the socialism in America, that kind of stuff. It's like friendship of the peoples, voice praise, that kind of thing. And those guys would be like, look, we're getting peace, bro. I mean, there is a way to get world peace. Let's just surrender. Let's just live under North Korea forever. Does anybody want that? Everybody would agree that war is better than that kind of peace, right? So why are we going to wait for them to start the war on their terms? I don't get it. I don't get it. I have yet to have somebody explain to me how it makes sense to wait until they have hundreds or thousands of nukes instead of deal with them when they have like 50 nukes. Like nobody's made a good argument to me on that. So most people don't want to think about it. But you'll have to think about it, because when the flash goes off, you're going to have to deal with that, right? So I don't understand. Like, what are we doing? They're showing to us very clearly they want to nuke us. They just don't have the means yet. They don't have miniaturized H-bombs yet. What are we going to do? We're just going to wait. We're just going to wait for them to get them. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. That is so stupid. That is so monumentally stupid. It has to be one of the blunders of the ages, right? That North Korea shows us what they're doing. I mean, it would be one thing. I'll tell you this. It would be one thing if North Korea was building all this stuff up in secret and there were some CIA folks out there on CNN or some NSA folks out there on CNN, or like John Bolton went out there on Fox News and said, hey, look, we know what's going on. They're building up nukes and stuff, but we don't have pictures or anything. They're doing it underground and they're trying to keep it secret. A lot of people you could kind of see why they might say, hey, look, maybe the military is just trying to like justify a war. Maybe they're just like accusing the North of doing this stuff, but it's just fake. And they just want a war against North Korea, but the North Koreans aren't actually building up nukes. You know, kind of like how people said about Saddam Hussein, like, do you really have evidence he's building up weapons of mass destruction? And then the Bush administration had some like drawings of like Iraqi scuds and stuff. And you're like, it wasn't the best marketing campaign in that sense to sell the Iraq war. But that's not what North Korea is doing. They're not trying to be secret about it. They're not. They're out there in the open saying, look, we're trying to get ICBMs to nuke you. We're trying to get miniaturized nukes to nuke you. We're testing them. We're building them. We're trying to get H-bombs to nuke you. But then we've got fools like Kremlin Kyle and June who are out there in our neck of the woods saying, "Oh no, they're our friends. We should try to see things from their perspective and stuff." And I'm like, yeah, I can see things from their perspective. They want to nuke us. They're not trying to keep it secret. Iran's not trying to keep it secret. They're just bragging about nuking Israel, even though they can't do it yet. What do you think they're going to do when they can't? Oh, it's like they nuke Israel. You're like, surprise Pikachu face. You're like, what? How could they do that? It's like they've been telling you they wanted to do that for 20 years. You just didn't believe them. Because you're a dumbass. Sogcom Brain says these ISO-cucks need to read Mearsheimer. Yeah, I've read some Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer's pretty good. I think a lot of people would benefit by if not reading Mearsheimer, at least understanding like the bullet points of what Mearsheimer has to say. You know, offensive realism, pretty based. If you're going to be a realist, be an offensive realist. That's all I can say. Nicholas says Kremlin Kulinski would just tell the U.S. to nuke itself. Then he'd throw a Trump-style tantrum when the officials don't do it. Oh, yeah, because like my white guilt, my progressivism, my socialism, all that kind of stuff, right? Chad Pooters, or Cool Pooter says, Fat Kim Boy looks like he... Oh, wait, what does your profile picture say? Your profile picture has the word nuke and Cool Pooter in it. What is your... I can't see. It says Ale the Nuke something. What does that say, man? Okay, he writes, Fat Kim Boy looks like he needs to go on a diet that he puts his people on. Yeah, no, he spends hundreds of millions of dollars a year on food and alcohol. It ain't happening. The guy's a menace, okay? The guy's a menace. Oh, but he likes Katy Perry. It's like, I don't care. It's like, oh, but Hitler, Hitler really liked Hitler really liked Taylor Swift, bro, or Joseph Stalin. You don't understand, man. Joseph Stalin, he really likes Justin Bieber, so he's a good guy. It's like, I don't care. I don't care that Stalin likes Justin Bieber. I don't care. Doesn't make him not a brutal tyrant. Suck on Brain says so many people that identify as realists don't even know what realism is. Oh yeah, like there's a big problem. Like most of the realist people have never even read their own canon. It's kind of embarrassing. They just think it's like it's edgy. It's like, ooh, I'm a realist. I know how the world really works. It's like realists don't even know how the world works. Like even Mearsheimer. I generally like Mearsheimer. Mearsheimer's no neocon. So Chad Pooter, or Cool Pooter. I keep calling him Chad. I mean, he is Chad. He's making fun of Ian Stevens, the pathetic loser who still refuses to debate me because he needs his school computer, even though he's tweeting from his iPhone every day. He says, the text is, Hail the Nuke Hawk. Sorry about that. I need to adjust the picture. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Can you send me that picture like over on Twitter? I will post that. That's based. WR Winter says, oh my God, I love Katy Perry. Hashtag relatable. Teehee, Yeah, it's like he's an e-girl. We got Nicholas says, on the contrary, Stalin liking Justin Bieber would be the tipping point. Yeah, Chad Pooter. Oh man. Yeah, no, I did want to wrap up the stream a long time ago, but stuff comes up. We got an active chat. By the way, if you guys want to throw me a tip, if you guys support what I do, you guys get a kick out of these streams, you guys find value in this, my PayPal is at the link in the description below. I also signed up for Coffee tonight. It's an app that you can use to support creators. And Son of Cyrus, he donated enough so that we became gold over there. So that's awesome. Big thanks to Son of Cyrus. So I'll be putting those links on the channel very soon. So. But yeah, my message to Kim is basically this, like if I had power, that's what I would send him, game over. So I think we're going to wrap it up, though. So be sure to like the video, subscribe to this channel. Of course, follow me over on Twitter at Kevin Castley. You can follow me over on Twitch as well. The link is in the description. And if you want to support this channel on an ongoing basis, you can check out my Patreon. That's patreon.com/superpowerbroadcasting. Once we hit $100 a month, we'll be releasing daily pre-recorded videos in addition to the daily live stream. So we're $27 away from that. So thank you for your support to the existing patrons. You guys are awesome. And of course, the PayPal gang, you guys are based. Keep on rocking in the free world. I'm Kevin Castley. I'll be back here tomorrow, of course. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you later. Peace.